Ethan slipped into the bathroom, hearing the hum of Olivia's shower drown out the muffled ping of her phone on the vanity. They had always trusted each other, or so he thought. But lately, something felt off. Business trips used to mean longing texts and flirty goodnight calls. Now her responses came delayed, sometimes ignored. Brushing off his suspicions as paranoia, Ethan told himself it was the strain of long distance. Until now, the notification banner was glaringly evident against the black screen. "Can't wait to see you tonight, Ryan." His heart thudded painfully against his chest. Who the hell was Ryan? Ethan hesitated, his fingers trembling as he swiped to unlock. Olivia rarely guarded her phone, another testament to their supposed trust. The thread unfolded in cryptic messages, each more damning than the last. A miss you here, a winking emoji there. Worse, the plans for a quiet night together matched the exact evening Ethan had returned early from a cancelled meeting. Olivia had claimed she was at her book club. The showers shut off. Ethan locked the phone and stepped away, his face a carefully arranged mask of calm. As Olivia exited, wrapped in a towel, she greeted him with a warm smile that now seemed laced with betrayal. "What's up?" "Nothing, just checking if you wanted tea," Ethan replied smoothly, retreating from the room. His mind was already racing. He wouldn't confront her yet. If Ryan was bold enough to leave a trace, they'd both fall into the trap he was already crafting. There were two things Ethan knew for sure. Olivia was lying, and he was going to expose her. Ethan didn't waste time. Precision was key, and he approached this betrayal like one of his meticulous marketing campaigns. Calculated and strategic, he replayed every subtle shift in Olivia's behavior, compiling a mental list of inconsistencies. The book club night that coincided with his earlier flights home, the sudden gym membership when she'd always scoffed at exercise, and the unfamiliar cologne lingering faintly on her coat. Returning to the kitchen, he prepared 2 cups of chamomile tea, carefully masking his emotions. When Olivia joined him, her hair still damp, she kissed his cheek and took the cup without hesitation. Her casualness stung, but Ethan maintained his composure. If she could lie so effortlessly, he could act just as well. "So," he began, his tone breezy, "I've got a few projects wrapping up early. I might be home more often next week." Olivia's pause was infinitesimal, but Ethan caught it. "That's great," she said, flashing a smile. "You've been working too hard lately." He studied her over the rim of his mug. "Maybe we could go out one night. Dinner. Just the 2 of us." Her smile tightened. "Sure. Let me check my calendar. Things have been crazy at the office." That was it. He excused himself shortly after, retreating to his study. As soon as the door clicked shut, he unlocked his laptop. It was time to put a plan in motion. The next morning, while Olivia left for work, Ethan made a detour on his way to the office. He stopped by a small electronics store and purchased a discreet recording device. Small enough to fit in his pocket, it was capable of capturing high-quality audio. He had seen her messages, but text was easily dismissed as platonic. He needed indisputable proof. At home, he found the perfect spot in the elegant living room, tucked behind the decorative centerpiece on the coffee table. It provided an unobstructed view of the seating area, where Olivia often hosted her book club. If she and Ryan planned to meet here, as the messages implied, they would have nowhere to hide. Ethan's next move was more daring. He needed to lure Ryan out. Returning to Olivia's phone while she was in the shower again that evening, he scrolled through their text thread. It was risky, but he couldn't resist sending a message from her account. "Can't wait for you to come over Friday night. Ethan's working late again." He barely locked the phone before Olivia stepped out, oblivious to his maneuver. Friday arrived and Ethan left the house as usual, but instead of going to work, he parked down the street in an old inconspicuous sedan he had borrowed from a friend. From the passenger seat, he had a clear view of the driveway. Olivia left for her errands mid-morning, and Ethan seized the opportunity to inspect the recording device one final time. It was armed and ready. By nightfall, the trap was set. Ethan waited with bated breath, his heart pounding as Olivia returned home. Not long after, a second car pulled into the driveway, a sleek black coupe. "Ryan!" Ethan's grip on his phone tightened. The moment of truth was approaching, and they had no idea their night together would be their undoing. Ethan's pulse quickened as he watched Ryan step out of the black coupe. Dressed in fitted jeans and a leather jacket, Ryan exuded the confidence of a man who thought he'd never get caught. He knocked lightly on the front door, and within moments Olivia opened it, her bright smile and the way she smoothed her dress making Ethan's stomach churn. They exchanged hushed greetings before disappearing into the house. Ethan didn't move. His patience was razor-sharp now, honed by the adrenaline coursing through him. The recording device would capture every word, but Ethan wasn't here to simply gather evidence. He was here for a reckoning. From his parked car, Ethan quietly called the security system in his home. With a few taps on the app, he activated the hidden cameras he'd installed earlier in the week. The living room feed appeared on his phone screen, showing Olivia pouring 2 glasses of wine while Ryan lounged on the couch. Their conversation began innocently enough, with Ryan joking about Olivia's choice of wine and her laughter carrying a note of false sweetness. Then, as Olivia sat beside him, the tone shifted. "You were right," Olivia said, leaning into him. "Ethan doesn't suspect a thing." Ryan smirked. "Good. I was starting to worry about that text you sent. Can't wait for Friday. Bold move, babe." Olivia laughed lightly. "He's clueless. He doesn't even check my phone. I mean, why would he? He trusts me." Ethan's jaw clenched at her words, but he forced himself to stay composed. Let them dig their grave deeper. The conversation turned to future plans, and Ryan's carefree demeanor turned calculating. "We should talk about what's next. You've been saying for weeks you're ready to leave him. What's the hold-up?" Olivia hesitated, her fingers tracing the rim of her glass. "I'm just waiting for the right moment. If I play this wrong, he could get vindictive. I don't want to lose the house or the money." Ryan placed a hand on her thigh, his voice low and smooth. "You won't lose anything. Trust me. We've got this." Ethan had heard enough. He slipped out of the car, his movements swift and precise. The cool evening air did little to calm the storm brewing inside him as he approached the front door. Quietly, he unlocked it and stepped inside, his footsteps muffled by the plush carpet. The scene in the living room played out exactly as he'd seen on the screen. Olivia and Ryan sat close, their bodies turned toward each other, unaware of his presence. "Don't let me interrupt," Ethan said, his voice slicing through the air like a blade. Both turned to face him, their expressions frozen in shock. Olivia's face drained of color, while Ryan sat back, his cocky grin faltering. Ethan stepped fully into the room, his calm demeanor masking the fury bubbling beneath the surface. "I hope the wine's to your liking, Ryan," he added, his tone dripping with sarcasm. The trap had been sprung, and now it was time to watch them squirm. The room fell into an eerie silence. Ryan glanced at Olivia, looking for direction, but she was frozen, her wineglass trembling slightly in her hand. Ethan's calm expression unnerved them both, a storm brewing behind his steady gaze. "Even," Olivia stammered, setting her glass down with an unsteady clink. Oh, what are you doing home? I thought you had work tonight." Ethan ignored her, his attention fixed on Ryan. "So, this is Ryan," he said, his voice light but laced with menace. "The famous gym trainer. You must be incredibly good at—" What was it again? Building strength or ruining marriages? Ryan stood, hands raised slightly as if to diffuse the tension. Look, man, this isn't what it looks like. Save it, Ethan snapped, his composure cracking for the first time. I've been watching you two for weeks. I've read the texts. I've seen the hotel receipts. Hell, I've even recorded this little get-together. He gestured to the coffee table centerpiece where the hidden device lay. Olivia's mouth fell open in horror. You? You were spying on me? Ethan turned to her, his face hard. Don't you dare try to play the victim here. You brought this into our home, Olivia. You lied to me. You betrayed me. And for what? This guy? He gestured dismissively at Ryan. Ryan's bravado returned, albeit shakily. Hey, no need for the insults. Olivia's clearly unhappy with you. Maybe if you weren't so busy jetting off for work. Ethan cut him off with a sharp laugh, cold and humorless. The classic excuse. My job supports this house, the clothes on her back, and probably the wine you're sipping right now. But sure, let's blame me for her choices. Ryan shifted uncomfortably, his confidence faltering again under Ethan's withering stare. Look, I think I should leave. You're not going anywhere, Ethan said, stepping closer. Not until we're finished here. He pulled out his phone and began playing the audio recording. Olivia's voice filled the room, dripping with contempt. Ethan doesn't suspect a thing. Then Ryan's reply, You won't lose anything. Trust me. Olivia shot to her feet, panic flashing across her face. Ethan, please, let's talk about this in private. Oh, now you want privacy? Ethan retorted, shaking his head. No, Olivia, this isn't a conversation. This is a lesson. He turned his attention to Ryan. How does it feel, Ryan, knowing your little game is over? I wonder what your clients would think if they saw this recording, or your gym sponsors. That car you drive probably wouldn't last long, would it? Ryan paled, but said nothing. And you, Ethan said, turning back to Olivia. His voice softened, but the edge remained sharp. You've made your choice, Olivia. I'll make mine. Consider this your notice. By Monday, I want you out of this house. Her face crumpled, tears streaming freely now, but Ethan felt no sympathy. The betrayal had cut too deep. And don't worry, he added with a grim smile, I'll be sending the recording to my lawyer. You'll regret every last lie you told. Ryan stood frozen, unsure whether to stay or leave, while Olivia sobbed silently. Ethan grabbed his keys and headed toward the door, his parting words ringing like a final judgment. Enjoy your wine, it's the last thing I'll ever buy for you. Ethan stepped out into the cool night, leaving Olivia and Ryan to the ruins of their plans. The air felt cleaner somehow, despite the weight in his chest. His hands trembled slightly as he slid into his car, gripping the wheel to steady himself. He wasn't the type to lash out, but the confrontation had drained him. Now came the part he was built for. Strategy. Driving to a nearby hotel, Ethan booked a suite and pulled out his laptop. The house was no longer his refuge, but this temporary space would do. His fingers moved with purpose as he began assembling the evidence. Recordings, receipts, and screenshots of Olivia's messages. Every piece had a place in the airtight case he was preparing for the divorce. Olivia wouldn't just lose him, she would lose the financial safety net she'd taken for granted. By morning, Ethan had sent everything to his lawyer, including a detailed summary of his findings. The lawyer's reply was swift and reassuring. Olivia's actions and Ryan's presence in their home provided enough grounds for Ethan to secure a favorable outcome. The house, their joint accounts, and the assets Olivia assumed were hers to manipulate was slipping from her grasp. Ethan didn't stop there. He reached out to a contact in local PR, ensuring the recording of Ryan's damning words would quietly circulate among his clients and sponsors. It wasn't about revenge, it was about consequences. Olivia called him the next afternoon. Ethan stared the phone for a moment before answering, his voice calm. "What do you want, Olivia?" She hesitated, her tone a mixture of pleading and indignation. "We need to talk. Please, Ethan. I made a mistake." Ethan's laugh was soft, devoid of warmth. "A mistake?" "No, Olivia. You made a choice, and now you can live with it." "But we can fix this," she insisted, her voice breaking. "I wasn't thinking clearly. It was just a phase." Ethan's patience thinned. "A phase that involved lying, cheating, and inviting someone into my home while I was away providing for us? Don't insult me by calling it a phase." Her silence was answer enough. He ended the call without another word. He wouldn't give her the satisfaction of a prolonged argument. By the end of the week, Olivia had moved out, her belongings boxed and left on the curb for her to collect. Ethan felt no satisfaction watching her leave. What he felt was clarity, a clean slate to rebuild his life. The legal proceedings moved swiftly. Olivia's requests for alimony were dismissed outright, thanks to the evidence Ethan had provided. The house remained his, and any financial support for Olivia was limited to the bare minimum. Ryan's downfall was equally swift. A whisper campaign among his gym's elite clientele led to several cancelled contracts. Within a month, his reputation had crumbled, taking his lavish lifestyle with it. Ethan stood in his now quiet home one evening, gazing at the city lights through the window. The betrayal had cost him his marriage, but it hadn't broken him. If anything, it had reminded him of his own strength. He raised a glass of scotch to no one in particular and smiled faintly. "To new beginnings," he murmured, savoring the taste of freedom.